Is this the right time to build a big new hotel right here, right next door? If it is a good time, if it is a business that is likely to succeed for all the reasons that the environment suggests, then that's an opportunity. But if it's the wrong time to build a big new hotel, because, for example, the government offices that are here might move in a few years' time, and there will be far less reason for hotels to exist in the city, then that's a bad idea, and it's not an opportunity. So it's a pretty easy distinction between an idea on the one hand and an opportunity on the other. The problem is that too many people don't understand that that extremely significant distinction. Lots of people say to me every day, "Oh, I have a great idea for a business," but they have not stopped to think about whether that idea actually constitutes an opportunity. And that's one reason why 99% of all new startups in the US and Europe fail. Another way to think about opportunity is to think not about the distinction between an opportunity and an idea, but the distinction between someone perceiving order where other people perceive a lack of order, either chaos or just no logic. Entrepreneurs are often people who can see a pattern where others see nothing. And that gives them a competitive edge. Where people often think they see a pattern, but no pattern exists, is the source of failure, again, for a large proportion of entrepreneurs in the US and in Europe. So I'm talking about individuals as they begin to think about opportunity. And I want, just before I go too much further into that, to make the distinction even more nuanced. Not all entrepreneurs are the same. On this 2x2 matrix, you can perhaps see what I mean. Going back to the continuum of opportunity focus on the one hand and managerial focus on the other, if you think of that less along a line, as in my first slide, and more on a grid, you can plot those two concepts against each other. So, for example, if some person is very high on entrepreneurial focus, very high on opportunity focus, but very low on management skills. In other words, he's got lots of ideas, but he doesn't know how to, talk to the bank about getting a loan. That's a very typical entrepreneur, not necessarily a very successful one. Someone who's quite low on perceiving opportunity and also low on an ability to organize things, we might describe as an inventor. Someone who has lots of ideas but doesn't want or care or even have the ability to do anything with them. This is where actually most people probably exist. Now, those of you that are in the room who are entrepreneurs will know that if you had lots of ideas but no skills, you'd not be able to commercialize your idea and substantiate it as an opportunity. So you're more likely to be somewhere more towards the middle of the graph, where you're beginning to combine your managerial skills with your opportunity focus. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but the ideal place to be is up here, where you have a high level of managerial skill as well as a high opportunity focus. Because if you've got too little opportunity focus, you're probably better off as the chairman of the board rather than the managing director. But if you've got a high level of both, then you're ideal for running a rapidly growing, somewhat risky new venture. So I hope all of you who are in this room as entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs are imagining yourself up in this quadrant, because that's certainly where you need to be. Another way of representing this graphically is to think about not so much your entrepreneurial abilities, but your more general leadership abilities. Leadership is a very complex concept, and it's not one that I think anybody understands very well. But we do know a lot about how to be a bad leader, how to be ineffective as a leader. And from that, we can extrapolate some basic principles about how to be a good leader or a more effective one. And again, it has something to do with a matrix of influences, not simple definitions. So leadership is often an ability to balance opportunity focus with an ability to control or manage resources, and also an ability to understand your environment and to increase your capabilities so that they suit that environment. And with this, I think you can perhaps see that I'm beginning to come back to the point I started with, that without an ability to interpret the environment, you're limiting your leadership capacity. You're limiting your ability to be effective as an entrepreneur. The problem with most entrepreneurship teaching and research in the West is that we only concentrate on the things here on the bottom or here over on the left, and we do not spend enough time thinking about the area on the right. That's where the social context becomes important, and where I've been concentrating my attention most recently. Okay. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a bit in the interest of time, just to make one final point about the importance of the environment. Generally speaking, if you look at how certain environments promote more entrepreneurship than other environments, you have to think about certain factors. And the research that looks at this, the sort of relative success of entrepreneurship in different countries, for example, or different communities, generally organizes itself around these ideas. A country or a community with a lot of successful entrepreneurs generally has high levels of all of these things. So there'll be a lot of previously successful entrepreneurs. There's probably a positive cultural attitude towards risk-taking and independent working. There is often some sort of technological basis or a supply of technological skill that people are drawing on. That doesn't necessarily mean computers and machines. It can also mean simpler technology like agricultural equipment or even technological, techniques for processes like refining palm oil, for example. Additionally, there are usually well-developed networks of one sort or another, and these often allow access to finance of one sort or another by which a new venture can prosper. In the West, there is often an extreme dependence on getting access to much larger sources of finance at a later stage of an organization's development. In other words, most entrepreneurially successful areas in the West have public stock markets where you can take your company public in order to capitalize its expansion. In other parts of the world, this role is played by other kinds of mechanisms. It's too specific here for every part of the world, but there's always some sort of exit route. There's always some sort of well-developed way out so that the entrepreneur can sell his or her business or take it public and make it grow as a result. Another very important enabler is the presence in the middle of education. Without some sort of educating institution or attitude or mechanism, none of these other things are well coordinated. So we can observe in most of the successful entrepreneurial cultures around the world, at the center, some kind of educational activity. That's not always school or university. Sometimes it's community training. Sometimes it's families passing skills down from